Welcome to No Question About That. Back after a 2-week break. I'm Ed with Daniel. How's it going, Daniel?
I'm well rested.
Yeah. Did you enjoy your 16 days off?
Yeah. I'm trying to think about them now. It was, the international footballs that I saw, most of it was so dreadful. So, I guess in some ways it was felt like not never having been away. But as far as United goes, it felt like it wasn't a particularly great time for there to be a break, as they'd finally found some momentum. But I guess they played okay tonight.
Yeah, actually did. The most important stat of the day, we out-XG'd them. Or something like that.
Harris Maguire probably out-XG'd them.
Yeah. I mean, not that I had loads of faith as that floated across, but there was a moment of hope, wasn't there? That Big Harry would get his head on it.
Yeah, well, there was a couple. He had an opportunity before that as well. I don't love that way of going about goal chasing, because I just think that it encourages you to just toss it into the mixer, innit? But at the same time, I guess that probably wasn't. We didn't look like we were likely to score in any other way.
They're a lot of possession, 68% possession, and all the territorial advantages and all of that. And I can't remember how many shots it is now. It's like 20 something, isn't it? It was a lot anyway. So in theory, that create a lot, but 1.5 XG from open play, it's all right.
We don't know how to score a goal, Edwards, I'm afraid.
We do really. Not. Yeah. And a lot of those were like hopeful ones, or the frustration of Garnacho shooting yet again when there's players in space. Or I know that I just want to pick on him because everyone's at fault here, but he may have been the most egregious at that.
I know why he didn't play Højlund, because there wasn't going to be space in behind. But the thing about Xerxes, he doesn't really want to score. So if your main guy who's there to score doesn't really want to, then obviously it can sometimes work. It worked with Liverpool, who has Firmino, who obviously did score a lot more goals than Xerxes has. But it worked because they could play off him, but obviously it was different. They were a much better team than us. And so to have a centre forward that isn't like desperate to score is going to make things difficult. I would still have played Højlund, because I also didn't really see what we were going to get behind him. That Casemiro and Ugarte, it just felt like the two of those. I felt like we need one of those and Bruno for this kind of game, because you've got the opposition sitting back. Then that allows you to play an extra attacker, which he did in the second half. I guess it didn't get that much better. In fact, in some ways it got worse. But I did feel like Højlund gave us something. It feels like, he's not good yet or anything, but I feel like he's doing way more of the right things.
Well, he scored over the international break for Denmark against Portugal, didn't he? So it's a couple of goals in his last couple of games, and then to get dropped after that, I guess for him would have been disappointing. I know what you mean about Xerxes, though. After 3 minutes, Ruben Amorim was screaming at him, telling him to push forward. He obviously wanted him to be much higher up the pitch, stop dropping into those spaces. After 5 minutes, those two in midfield who you mentioned, Ugarte and Casemiro, got completely bypassed by the first Forest counter, and they scored, and that's it.
It felt like the setup, aside from obviously the individual errors, it didn't feel like the setup could possibly be right. That those that like Mazraoui, Dorgu, and Garnacho are the players doing the chasing. That didn't feel right. And I know that because they chastised Garnacho for not bringing him down. At the time, I thought he tried to, and just wasn't good enough. Didn't know how to do it.
Yeah,
and like all he needed was a raised leg, and he's gone.
Yeah. Actually, I thought he was trying to be too honest. He was actually sliding to try and get the ball. He should just clip the player's ankles. Basically, take one for the team.
But it felt like the setup wasn't right.
Yeah, I really think that was United's like only really bad mistake of the game defensively. That I know what you mean in terms of like who was in what position in the transitional moments, right? It was the wrong way round, and you want your quicker players there, and you can certainly put that down to like the personnel, and there's not been a lot of speed with Ugarte and Casemiro. But if you have two defensive players in there, there should be some transitional protection, shouldn't it? That was just the one big mistake. They didn't really make any after that. Forest didn't create a lot. I mean, they only made that one good save to his left, and that was about it.
And it felt like it reminded me a little bit, the goal, of that kind of situation Yoro had against Southampton and Kamaldeen Sulemana, where you have a player with gas, but sometimes it's just a player with more gas who's running in the right direction to begin with and doesn't have to turn. And that felt like that's what happened to Dorgu, because he's not slow, but he got absolutely licked by someone who's really quick. And I mean, it's interesting that Elanga, when he was in the youth team, I thought he might make a United player, and he looked good in pre-season one year, where I felt like he had the agility of a winger and the nose to goal of a striker. But then when he actually got into the first team, you start watching him at that speed of the game. It felt like the things I wanted him to improve, his first touch, that really actually just his technical ability, felt like he might improve it, but for an attacker, you'd expect it to be there already if you're going to be in the youth. So I wasn't bothered when we sold him. I'm not even sure I'm bothered about it now, particularly, but he feels like he's in the right kind of environment for him. And I don't think he's going to be a top centre forward, but it's working really well for him. He seems like a nice lad also. And it's a brilliant goal. I think whenever you sell a striker to a team in your league, you're sort of saying, I mean, Peter Davenport did it. Terry Gibson did it also as well. You're sort of accepting the fact that they're going to score against you.
Yeah, quite. And look, I have no regrets over selling Elanga. I don't think he had enough of the tools in his toolbox to make it as a United player. Amorim was asked after the game about it. He said he had his chance. He didn't make it at United. I'm not thinking about it, which I thought was a perfectly fair answer, to be honest.
Yeah, that is a good answer. I mean, he gives, I like almost all his answers. It's whether he can make it work on the pitch, really. That he, in that aspect, he's almost unimpeachable. One thing I did notice, because obviously you see them attack and they've got whenever they countered, I thought we defended them quite well, but there was kind of moments where you felt like they got an extra man here, they got a spare man. And every time we countered, it felt like there were more of them than there were of us. Yeah. And I suppose part of that is a facility of how they play, but also not sure, like the wing back situation, like you're sometimes, especially with, it feels like you're an attacker short. And not always just an attacker short. Like, thought Daly did okay tonight, but there's no goal threat of either flank, really.
No. I mean, if you look at the pass maps for the two sides, United are very, very wide and Forest are very, very narrow, and which you'd kind of expect with Forest. Is just how they play, right? They do transition very well. They're over-indexing on all of their data by miles and miles. They actually have lower XG over the course of the season than United, believe it or not. And they are third. So tells you something about the efficiency of their finishing. And United didn't create that space in behind. They didn't have a lot of threat in wide areas. Garnacho extremely wasteful. Bruno obviously roaming. Dalot on his own on the right-hand side. And Dorgu had some nice moments, but no, the end product wasn't really there.
Terrible second half. Just the terrible second half of carelessness on the ball, like Fred level carelessness on the ball. But the thing, like, he looks promising. He's gonna have to contribute goals and assists from that position. He hasn't got that near to it yet either. And I really like a lot of what I see with him, but we need goals and assists from that position, and particularly against a side like Forest, the 3-4, the way that we play. And I'm sure Amorim will have a solution to this, but one way of getting around deep defences is around the sides. They force you almost to go around the sides. Then you need overloads out wide, and in the formation we play, that doesn't really exist. And that's what one of the centre-backs gambles or something. And Chris, what's his name? Forget his name for a second. That manager of Sheffield United with the overlapping centre-backs. And he's back manager of Sheffield United again, isn't he? Chris Wilder.
He is, yeah.
Chris Wilder, yeah. But then even if you have these overlapping centre-backs that we don't have, like they then have to be good as well at getting the ball into the box. I mean, Inter do it as well. The centre backs turn up in funny places, but you have to be good on the ball. But yeah, if you're trying to get around the sides of teams, one player out there tends not to be enough. You've got someone's got to be deputed to get there and try and make those overloads. Obviously, it is difficult. Like Forest are a good, settled, confident team, and they're sitting back. That is hard to break down. Liverpool didn't score at City Ground this season, neither did Arsenal. They're not easy to break down. I thought that Bruno might have made more of the shot he had before they scored. I thought he went the wrong side. When I saw it, I thought he could score here. The header also. But yeah, otherwise, I mean, the manager said it, not enough quality in the final third, with the last pass in particular.
Yeah, I mean, there were sort of chances. Harry Maguire's header, Bruno's shot, as you mentioned, Mason Mount just wide of the other post. Did his best sort of, how unlucky am I?
With his little haircut now, with like the long at the back with the dead short sideboards. Is there a name for that? Like, what do you ask for?
It's a half mullet. I don't know. Yeah,
just a great, like sort of longish all around, but then just like a grade 1 on the bunions. Like, I mean, it must have a name. Anyone?
Yeah, I don't know. Not my area of expertise.
Amorim said he saw progress in the interview afterwards, and I think that's fair. I felt like we're working the ball out of defence okay. I still want to see more ball progression through the middle. But there's a lot of that game. Like, I watched that game, and I know I was just complaining about the formation, but in the main, I'm thinking the problem here is not that. The problem is that it's not enough quality.
I think so. There's an awful lot of what we saw today that looks like an Amorim side, and they're just not making. I mean, as you said, those overloads, which is a real feature of the Amorim Sporting side, they create an overload, create room for the player, round the back, cut back goal. That was the sort of archetypal Amorim goal, and we haven't seen that very often. It isn't; those patterns aren't exactly demonstrated on the pitch yet, and we. A very inefficient team.
But you can sort of see them trying.
Right. You can see them trying, yeah. I mean, it's the benefit of 6 months nearly under Amorim now, and you can see what's happening, and I guess we've just got the answer that these players cannot execute it in the way he wants, and so we're looking at the market and going, or the youth team, and going, are there options there? I mean, we saw Kone on the bench today. I wonder whether we'll see him in the team or off the bench at some point towards the end of the season. We've seen Fletcher on the bench as well. I think there's some hope that Morehouse might make it.
Did you watch the youth team last evening?
I only saw the second half and extra time, so some of it, yeah.
So I thought actually Tyler Fletcher played well.
Yeah.
I don't know if I know that people think that Jack is the better player.
Jack's the one that's been closer to the first team, but yeah. Yeah,
so Jack is more of an attacking midfield player. I mean, it's funny, he's captain of England, and the other one's captain of Scotland. It's a real, like, just classic football comic story that. Like, people might remember Jack of United and Jimmy of City. And they weren't twins, but like twins who played together at club level and captain rivals at international level. But yeah, so I thought Tyler Fletcher played quite well, and the other one was Bendito Montato, who I know they have hopes for him, and he looked like he's a left-footed right back, right wing back, right winger, just one man right flank, I guess. And he's the other one. I think we might see him, because ultimately we're going to need to buy. If we've got him and he could be good, then they might not buy someone for that position. And I say that, and I'm thinking I can't bear another season of Dalot playing every game. Because he's never going to be good enough to deliver the numbers of chance creation goals that you're going to need from that position. And to not buy someone for there, it's back to those Wan-Bissaka days almost, where teams would just deliberately funnel us down the right because they knew that we couldn't. I mean, not that we can do much from the left these days either, but in the great days of Ole.
Mantato, when he came on yesterday, was very good until he switched to left back, and the whole shape of the team seemed to go a bit off in extra time. Not that you can I don't think we should have you like with any kind of youth football. There's no point having a kind of deep tactical discussion or discussion of players because they're all on different development pathways, and it's super hard to correlate any kind of victories at that level with a bunch of 16, 17 and 18-year-olds to their pathway.
You're more looking at it and thinking,
right?
Yeah, do I think any of these can play in the first team? And I think of the players that played yesterday, I mean, Obi obviously is going to get a proper shot at it, but apart from him, I feel like Mantato probably did look the most likely. I'm not sure the Fletcher twins are going to be quite good enough, but we'll see.
Yeah, they've all got time, but I'd imagine a fair number of this group will have good careers at least. I mean, they're all technically sound, and injuries aside, there's like a few of the players, especially a few of the talented ones, Shea Lacey and Bianchieri, have both had like a lot of injury problems, and that can be a development issues. Also, like growth-related injuries happens a lot, and you just need talent, dedication, and a lot of luck to make it from being a very good 17-year-old to making it at United. And so it could be none of them, could be a few of them, but United really could do with especially there's no guarantee that we make the Champions League, right? Got to win 5 games in Europa first. And from here, that seems unlikely, although it's a pretty kind draw, honestly.
You say that on the other side as well. The teams are all shit. I mean, we're just shit as well. That's why we're there with them.
Yeah.
It's competition for shit teams.
Some years the Europa is a decent standard. This year, I'm not sure that is true.
Since that Atletico team that have Falcao in it, has there been any? I mean, we've got towards the end on quite a few occasions, having been shit on all of them.
Yeah, true.
We can do it. We can do it because I mean I think Lyon will be a difficult game, but they'll give us a bit more space in which to play. I'm looking forward to seeing how good Ryan Cherky is or isn't.
Yeah.
I think he's someone, I mean, if we're going to sign an attacker, he's someone that they might look at, that they're meant to be looking at. So,
I would imagine there'll be a few newspaper headlines in this next couple of weeks about that one, yeah. This episode is brought to you in association with NordVPN. For those of you who don't know, VPN stands for Virtual Private Network. It secures your connection, protecting your personal information and online activity, especially on public Wi-Fi. The VPN enables your phone or laptop to switch its virtual location to another country, which is great for accessing your favorite content while you're traveling. Long-time listeners will know that I've spent a good part of the last 20 years on a plane. I've recorded this podcast in places from Tokyo to Old Trafford, New York to the Northern Quarter, and a VPN has been absolutely essential to watching the game while I'm abroad. True story. I once racked up a £1,500 phone bill watching a United game while I was in Shanghai. I was on my work phone and I blamed it on video calls back to the office. The key lesson of this story is not how to scam your employee out of a large phone bill, but that I couldn't have watched the United game without a VPN. It's been a real lifesaver. If you want to try NordVPN for yourself, go to nordvpn.com/NQAT, and our link will also give you 4 extra months on the 2-year plan. It's the best discount available and equivalent to the price of coffee per month. There's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee, and the link is also in the podcast show notes if you need it. Yeah, I mean, it's League One is not a division I watch much of, right? So I've only seen highlights and comps and stuff like that. His data's very good. It's kind of his data's so good that you're looking at it going, why hasn't he made the move yet? I mean, he's only 21, 22, so
I think,
that's time.
The thing you know about League is that it's physical. So if he can do it there, then there's a good chance he can do it in the Premier League as well. He's not going to be shocked like Xerxes seems to have been. he's going to have. I mean, there are a few. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I do think we need someone for that position, because I don't think that any of the players that we have who can play there are quite what the manager wants there. I'm not sure. I mean, I think you want someone who can run with the ball there, and someone who's able to hold it up a bit as well. And you could get away with one player, maybe not like Bruno, so may not being able to do that. But I don't know if the person next to him needs to be a bit more physical, which is one of the things I like about Yildiz at Juve, who someone will probably buy this year, is that he's a unit.
The interesting thing about the balance there with those second places United have is that none of them are the complete package, right? So Bruno puts up the numbers, goals, assists, and especially since the turn of the year, doesn't carry the ball, isn't going to beat a man through dribbling. Garnacho carries the ball. Like, his progression via carry is really high, like hundreds of meters this game. I think it depends on how you measure it, but 5 fields worth of ball carrying, according to one stat bot that I looked at. I don't like calling it a field.
Does that count how far someone had to go to retrieve that shot that he took?
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah. But obviously Garnacho doesn't put up the numbers in terms of goals. We hope he can, but it's a stretch. And then Josh Zirkzee can hold it up and turn with it and bring others into play and doesn't do anything else, basically, right? You combine them all, you'd have a player. Unfortunately, to have that player, United are going to need to spend a lot of money, which we.
And I mean, even Ahmad. I mean, yeah, he's good enough to be a squad player. Is he good enough to be a main player as a number 10? Unknown.
I mean, he certainly is through that next phase of United's development, and it's trying to go from wherever we finish this season, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, or whatever it's going to be, up to guaranteed European places next season. Like, I mean, actually, if you look at the progression some teams have made, like, why not Champions League next season, depending on market activity. So he's definitely good enough for that phase. After that, is he good enough to be in a title contending side? It's not obvious to me yet that he'll put up those numbers, but yeah.
No, I agree. I mean, let's see. I mean, I'll be pleased when he's back, but it's just he doesn't have the strength, I don't think, but he can carry the ball. He does have the ability to bounce back up again when knocked over. Like, he's quite
and he's
strong,
very direct,
much stronger than he looks like he would be. But him and Bruno in the same midfield, I don't know. Maybe if you've got massive units all around them to sort of protect them, we'll see. But it was a game, as I said, where you're thinking more quality is more the answer here than a different way. Although I didn't like the change. I don't know why he took Ugarte off and not Casemiro. And we got less of the ball after that. And it won't be the only factor, but you need people that can run. It's a running game. And
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know whether Ugarte was taken off because they just come back or something.
Exactly. He'd been back on Friday, so he's had a few days, Friday or Saturday. But yeah, he played a couple of times, didn't he? So maybe that was it. Fatigue. Who knows? Didn't have as far to go as Chris Wood, who did 25,000 miles or whatever it was for his international games over the break. It must be great being Chris Wood. I mean, you're playing for a pretty crap team in New Zealand, but talk about stat padding. You get to play Guam and Vanuatu and Tonga and Fiji. Yeah.
Oh, it gets pretty intimidating in Funafuti.
Yeah. I had a chance. I don't know where I told this anecdote. I had the chance to go to Vanuatu, and because I was invited by the Pacific Islands Telecoms Association to go and give a keynote speech at their annual conference. And I was like, can I go? And my boss was like, yeah, sure. Whatever, it's your budget. If you've got the time and the money to go do it, whatever. And I was like, I looked at the flights, and the quickest way, and that's with the tightest connections, was 36 hours. So, you know, it would have been London to wherever your change is, to Sydney to Brisbane, and then your little hopper flight, which is still 1,000 miles or whatever, into the middle of nowhere. And I was like, Jesus Christ, like, can I really justify 6 full days of traveling for giving one speech? I don't think so. So I didn't go.
Yeah, that is a shame.
It is.
I mean,
it's one I haven't crossed off the bucket list. I don't know if there's a bucket list to go to Vanuatu, but I haven't been to any Pacific islands.
No, I mean it's
one
just
to get to
everywhere really. But
yeah,
it's just I got offered work once in Turkmenistan that I couldn't take, and that was also like, I mean, when else am I getting to this gaff? But I didn't.
Yeah,
but again, no, it was Turkmenistan. Yeah, it was Turkmenistan. Yeah.
I haven't been there either.
Anyone got any more stories about places they haven't visited?
Well, I've been to a lot of places, just neither of those. Yeah. What's the journey for
countries?
United?
Countries. How many countries have you done?
More than 60. So.
Oh, wow, that is a lot of countries.
Yeah.
How come?
Yeah. Well, I had a very, very international job. So, I mean, like half of them will be in Europe. So that's pretty easy. But all over North and Latin America, few countries in Africa, not that many, lots in Asia. So, yeah. It's I did for a while there between 2010 and 2019. I was doing an awful lot of travel. As people who listen to this pod would know, I recorded from various weird places around the world, and half of them thought I was a spy or something, because I'd be like, "Yep, I'm recording from Tokyo today," and then it'd be like Abu Dhabi the day afterwards, and they'd be like, "What?" So,
60 countries is a good effort.
It's good effort. Yeah, I've got a very large fridge full of magnets, and I didn't even start collecting. I should really go back and are you allowed to do that like with Panini sticker books? Yeah, exactly. If you haven't got all the stickers for your Panini book, you can go back and order some. Can you do that with magnets, or is that cheating? Do you have to get them at the time for it to count?
At the time, I mean, I think it's okay. Can you remember every country you've been to? Like, because I like those football matches sometimes. I'll be like, I think I went to that, but did I? Are they countries that you're not sure if you visited them or not?
I'd have to get a map out, but yeah. I tell you what, update on the next pod, Dan. I will get a map out and I'll put pins in every country I've been to, and we'll count them all up and work it out. Yeah, so I don't think there's any European country. I'd not been to Andorra or Vatican City or Liechtenstein, so I'm missing a few European countries. So,
I've been to Vatican City. Have you been to like your Lithuanias and your Latvias?
I've been to Latvia. Which one's Vilnius and which one's
Vilnius is Lithuania. Jews know the answers to these kinds of questions, because we know that we've been battered in most of these places. And
you've got a tally list, have you?
Yeah, I've been to Tallinn.
I've been to. Actually, I've been to Tallinn and Riga, and so I've done all three of those. Yeah, so there you go. Soon to be part of the USSR again, I imagine, once Vlad has his hands on them. Where do United go from here? I mean, we've got City at the weekend.
The words coming out all weird. Where are you now? I don't like much of the horses for courses selection when you're not good.
Yeah.
I just want you to put on the pitch what you think is your best team as often as possible, especially at this point in the season where everyone's fit and they're not exhausted, these players. They shouldn't be.
Mm-hmm.
But I want you to put your best team on the pitch as often as possible, because I want to see them gel, rather than you try and sneak a point because you play Xerxes, not Højlund. I didn't. So, I mean, obviously where they go is they've got to go and smash City on the weekend and on Sunday.
I would make up for an awful lot. Yeah, I mean, no Haaland, of course, with City. It looks like he's out for a few weeks, although I'm sure Pep's doctor will be on it.
That is the team that, in theory, depending on who Guardiola picks a little bit, we could out physical. They're
definitely not the same in midfield, are they? De Bruyne is a shadow of him for myself. So.
Lost a step. Bernardo was someone whose lack of athleticism you could hide because he had a mad engine and because of the players around him, but not so much anymore. I mean, we could beat them again. And I think that it's not one of those games. You have just those succession, and a lot of these games I'm about to talk about were at home, just fucking soul-destroying batterings at home in the derby. And I'm not even talking about the 6-1. I'm talking like 2-0, just like real games. Before you went, you knew we were going to get battered in some way. And then you sometimes see the game and it'd be close for 20 minutes. And then it's close until it isn't. Just those kind of real evil games. Like, I don't think it'll be one of them. And we do appear to be hitting a basic level of defensive competence and passing the ball to each other. The next step of going from that to creating proper chances on a regular is a much harder step to take than the other two, particularly when you don't have the players.
Yeah. I guess that's the challenge, isn't it? You know, where are our goals going to come from against City? So I'm not exactly sure of that one, although they have not changed the way they're playing. They're just getting caught in transition an awful lot, right? That's happened all season.
And they don't have the physicality that they used to have. Teams have worked out that Haaland's not a technical footballer, and so a lot of the time City are playing with 10. He's not getting touches of the ball, and for a possession team that sometimes looks like they got 12. That when you have that, it can be a problem. They decided it was worth the risk, and it worked out well in the first season. But teams work out how to play that a little bit. I think Haaland's dropped a little bit too, and they're finding goals harder to come by. Foden also hasn't been as good as he was last season, and they don't. Without Rodri as well.
Not there. Yeah, without Rodri, they don't have the physicality. De Bruyne can't get around the pitch. Marmoush's an interesting player though, because he is pretty quick and he is more technical.
And he's inventive. He's a good player.
Yeah.
He's a good player. Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure he's a false nine. I'm not sure that's where you get the best use out of him. I was quite surprised he didn't start the Bournemouth game, actually. But
surely he'll start against United, though. Who's there?
Yeah, you think so? I mean, he looks a handful. He looks a good player, but what's happened with City is they haven't been able to replace the players that they've lost with players of equal quality, and that's even when you talk about someone like Mahrez, who you wouldn't have said was one of the better players, but he is better than Doku.
Yeah.
And when you lose a player like Rodri, and when you effectively lose a player like De Bruyne, I mean, good luck finding others who are good enough. And it's one of those many things, I guess, that make me remember how good Fergie was. That the year that Vidic does his cruciate in Basel, United lose the league in the last second. Like, he managed to pretty much always keep them competitive at the top end of the table, and with at the end with a lot less resources than Guardiola had as well. And I mean, none of Fergie's title defences weren't like this.
No, they did not. I mean, since when he left, they all went to shit. Yeah. It puts things in perspective when we were all complaining when we finished third in 2005, right? And like bitching and moaning because United aren't the same as they were before.
I mean, we were right to.
Yeah,
we were right to. I mean, it wasn't like those,
quite the drop off.
It wasn't good. And then I mean, obviously Fergie was involved in that, and you can see it happening when they start signing fucking Jemba, Cleberson, and Bellion, and it's like, oh, okay, it's this is it. And like that, and it was partly that Fergie was building the next great team, but it was also like the frittering of money in a dubious way, with who knows what reason. Forlan, another one that felt like a kind of early testimonial, and that was one of the reasons it got shit. Was the building of the new team, but the other was the frittering of money at a time when it was being limited already by the board. But his ability to coax unfathomable performances in adverse circumstances is far in excess of any manager in my lifetime of watching football. And I'm not even saying he's the best necessarily. I mean, there are people that think that Guardiola is. I mean, I can understand why you would say that. But just that one thing, like getting results, and not just one result, but crafting whole seasons where you're just like, how the fuck have you done that with them? Yeah, there's no one that comes anywhere near that.
No better example of that than winning the league in 2013 and then watching what happened afterwards. I mean, there are many factors to that, of course, not just Fergie's genius, but yeah, for sure. Guardiola says he's staying on. He's been extremely bullish about their various charges with the Premier League. The noises appear to be that decision has been made, and they're writing up the report. There'll be 2 announcements. One will be guilt, not guilt on all 115, 130 charges, depending on how you frame it. And that then the punishment will come after that, which will leave some gap for spinning, one might add. But Guardiola seems to say he's staying whatever happens there. I guess the Premier League can't actually relegate them as such. They can give them points penalties for each charge, which give them enough to bump them out of the league, hopefully. But they spend £200 million in the winter. They have a ton of PSR headroom. They could go off and do that again. So, imagine a hypothetical scenario in which they are not relegated. Guardiola will get the chance to rebuild with a phenomenal amount of money, one would imagine.
It's one.
Now is the time to have them, Daniel, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like that the game can't afford for them to get away with this without getting a proper punishment. Because they got away with it last time, and the way that people act, it's that they got off last time because it couldn't be proven, rather than they got off last time on the technicality.
Yeah.
The statute of limitations.
Yeah.
We've all seen the leaked stuff. And I say every time that I'm not going to prejudge it, but they cheat at human rights. I think there's a chance they cheat at football.
Oh, quite. There's a chance, Daniel. Yeah, absolutely. I think there's been a lot of talk. I mean, I guess fueled by some of City's favourite writers in the media, that it would be bad for the Premier League product to sort of, in some sense, sully the last 10 years of the league. But it's a lot worse to have a club that routinely and systemically cheats in order to, everyone will just, at some point people go, what's the point? And they stop watching the product, which has been the problem in France. As John Tester, who's the owner of Lyon, our next European opponents, has said, we're never going to get a TV
segue,
because no one's gonna. Well, sort of segue. It's not a segue into anything, though, is it? There's a real pro would know what they're leading to next. But he said that we're never going to get a decent TV contract because everyone knows the outcome of the season before it started, and the problem, if City somehow get away with this, and it's a slap on the wrist in some fashion, is that they can go spend a phenomenal amount of money in the summer. They'll have the Club World Cup as well, which will, put £100 million, possibly 150 million into their bank accounts, and then just go start again. So, especially if it's some historical penalty. If they're well, here's points deductions from 2014 and 2015, and here's the 2018 one, and here's the, won't mean anything now.
No, I think if they get away with it, then it will be effectively feels like you can do whatever you like.
Yeah, well, this is what UEFA have done. They gave up. There's no longer points penalties, basically, for financial shenanigans in UEFA competitions. It's only financial penalties, which is kind of completely pointless, isn't it? Unless you're hitting a club that actually has problems with their finances, and you're just making it worse for them. So it doesn't seem.
It always depend on what the numbers are, but yeah, it is a difficult situation because you can't. The people who are been entrusted with or entrusted themselves somehow with looking after the game are people that don't really care for it, and that goes across pretty much all the clubs. Even when you hear Ratcliffe talk about United or whatever. He wants, all he cares about is United winning. He's not thinking about what is good for the game at all. And there are a couple of things he said that have made me think that. And I can't actually remember what they are now, but
well, they voted with City on the APT rulings, on the changes,
because he's just thinking, well, I want that too. There's no moral questions for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
I accept the United, but United being good is a moral standard. But I want us to be good in the right way, and I don't want us to be good at the expense of the thing that we all share.
Yeah, I agree with that one. And like, it's the highs are good because the lows are bad, isn't it? And if you just win all the time, I mean, I guess Newcastle fans, none of them appear to be, well, not very many of them, a tiny proportion of Newcastle fans appear to be complaining about, what it is that has had to have happened for them to get into a position to win the Carabao Cup last week. Not many of them are complaining. I normally don't engage with them, but one of them tweeted this thing about how fans of big clubs are mocking them for having a parade because it's only the Carabao Cup, but, we're a local side for local people sort of thing. I was like, hang on a minute. You're owned by Mohammed bin fucking Salman. Like, it's for local people. Yeah, sure. Yeah. We'll do more with Jamie on the finance pod later this week. But just a note, since we're on all of this, Chelsea would have been £255 million in the red, was it not for the fact that they sold a hotel and the women's team to themselves.
Women's team. Yeah.
Oh, dear.
And that's one of those things that it's just, that sort of almost feels like maybe that will jolt people into action because it's so fucking ridiculous. The clubs think that football doesn't need a regulator.
Yeah, who knows whether the regulator will have the teeth to rule on stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, 9 Premier League clubs voted with Chelsea on that one when it came to, because there had been the EFL had banned this after Sheffield Wednesday and Derby and a few others did it in order to get around financial regulations.
So what did they do?
Well, and in some cases, yeah, Derby sold the ground to the owner, which you go, okay, fine, until the owner decided he didn't want to do it anymore. And then you had this awful situation where the club and the ground were separated. And it became a real sticking point in negotiations when the owner was selling, or in fact, he went through a liquidator, right, insolvency practice. And it went right to the 59 seconds, and they could have gone under because of this situation. So we can sort of laugh about it now, but a club and their ground should be inseparable. Mind you, if you're looking at selfishness in football, if and when Ratcliffe completes a full takeover or a controlling takeover and can do stuff like this, what's the reason that they voted with City, at least on one part of the associated party transactions, rules within the Premier League? It's presumably because he thinks he can leverage the power of his various petrochemical companies to pump money into United. We may be there at some point too, Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, we said this all along that he's not a good guy, and everything he's done. I mean, I think he's more of a prick now than I did before.
That is probably a universal opinion, Dan. Yeah.
So,
the only thing about his sort of media rounds a couple of weeks back that was impressive was the fact that he was doing it. And the Glazers haven't said a word in 20 years, and he at least fronts up. But I thought some of his answers were very self-serving.
Threatens to run away. Like a tossing in of if the abuse gets... What? It wouldn't be fun. What? So...
Yeah, I suppose that's one version of fuck you money, isn't it?
Don't cut people's jobs when you and your dickheads are responsible for something that cost the club a bad decision, an obvious bad decision, a decision that was obviously bad at the time that you made it, that cost the club 14 odd million quid. And cut something else or buy more shares or whatever it is. But and then threatening to walk away like that, I just thought you're a prick. Because if you would, just then that shows that you're not really serious about it. And if not, then you're lying and you're threatening people with something that you know that they hate just so that they suck you off. It's just, no.
What a lovely picture that is, Daniel. All right, on that graphic image of Big Sir Jim.
People being sucked off by people.
City at the weekend. There's a chance, Dan. We have a chance.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, they've lost 3 of those last 5. We've only lost 4 in the last 18, so
and they don't keep the ball like they used to, and they'll give us there'll be space, and we'll get the opportunity to use it. The more I think about it, I quite fancy us for this.
Let's talk our way into it. Very good.
Always.
I think we'll leave it there.
Apart from that derby at the end of the Moyes season, where Fellaini elbows Zabaleta in the face. That one is just like, oh my goodness me, I know we're going to lose this one. I was actually at that game because a mate had a free, I knew someone with a box basically. And it's one of those games, before you go, you know we're getting smashed. So we were having a few drinks, and you're not meant to take them out, but obviously if you put out the box, but obviously you put them in an opaque cup, it's fine. My phone dies, and I'm meeting some friends to get my lift home, and my phone's dead. And I can't, and I'm absolutely battered, and I can't find them. And we've just been battered by City. And it's a good probably hour and a half before we find each other outside the ground. And there was some people who were not happy with me on the way home. I'm obviously quite happy. I'm steaming. I found my friends. It's all good. But yeah, I didn't feel like I was fully being spoken to some of the way home from that one. You know when you're trying really hard to like make pleasant conversation, when you know people are pissed off with you. That
we'll see when there's an extra 30,000 people coming out of the new ground. Exactly how people get out of the Chester Road and onto the M62. It's not going to happen.
Those pictures of the forecourt there were brilliant. Like people were like enjoying just a lovely picnic lunch.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
See what happens when Liverpool turn up.
They will be enjoying a peaceful tour of the museum, which looks splendid. Yeah, obviously. Yeah. All right, everyone. Thank you very much. If you are on YouTube, you can catch this on all podcast apps. The other way around, if you're listening to this, if you like that kind of thing, we're on patreon.com/NQAT pod if you want to catch our backers shows, which I'm trying to do every week. I actually managed to send mugs this week, Daniel. It took me a very long time to do it, but they're all out the door. So if you're on a merch tee, you've got a mug. I may stop doing mugs because they're a real pain. Thanks a lot. Bye now.
See ya.